Great. So welcome again, Gamarjoba. I'm very glad that I have this opportunity to present today a short overview of what we are going to work on with, hopefully together, as data science and machine learning on Microsoft platform is concerned. Thank you for the introduction. I'm Marcin Szeliga. So I'm from Poland, and I've been working as a data scientist using this Microsoft data platform for quite a lot. Yeah. So I started with SQL Server. I have seen how this platform was born, starting with the single SQL Server. And then we moved to Azure, and the last 5 years or so, I've been working on Azure mostly, but still from time to time with SQL Server on-prem as well. As you mentioned, yeah, I'm a new university teacher as well as independent consultant. So my students would like to say big thank you to all of you. They got 1 hour more to prepare their labs, their projects, thanks to you. So that's great. As a long-term practitioner, I had some time to write about this Microsoft data platform as well. Most of those books, as you can see, are in Polish, so probably not very useful, but still, they are quite popular here in Poland. So this is also a part of my experience. But yeah, university teaching and those hobbies, let's say, how to develop machine learning models, how to participate in this very lively community around data science is one part. The second part is to earn some money for living, and for that I'm working with multinational companies around the globe, mostly Europe, but also Saudi Arabia, for example, to build Microsoft data solutions on Azure. And our goal is to teach you how you can do the same, basically. So how can you start your career as data scientist? Yeah, that's the main point. And to achieve this goal, we prepared 2 trainings. The first one, artificial intelligence and machine learning, G23, is scheduled for the 11 till 15 January 2021, so a full week of training. And after that, there will be an additional session to help you prepare for DP 100 Microsoft official certification exam. So you will get a title of data scientist. Yeah. And I'm going to describe those roles, those titles in greater detail shortly, so bear with me. I will try to organize questions here to be able to answer them on the way as well. So please if you have any questions, ask them right away. It's to provide you as much details about upcoming training as possible. So try to keep this session as interactive as possible as well. So that's the first part, G23 official course. Yeah, we can adjust. So I will adjust this course to your need to extend the materials slightly. Not only to provide you a hand-on experience how to build machine data science solution on Azure, but also how to prepare to this DP 100 exam. That's the goal. And then we have one more training, G28. It's called Data Science, Data Analytics. It's a very broad term, so definitely this one needs more explanation. This one is scheduled for the first week of February, also the whole week, and there will be additional session to answer your questions and to help you prepare for an exam. This exam is actually how to say it, more general. So with this G28 training, we will go far beyond the requirement needed to pass the first exam on data analytics or data engineering path, but it's still very valuable starting point. And we decided to do this way, to use this entry-level exam for the second training, because otherwise we would have to pass 2 exams to get this data engineer title. So that's the schedule. Now from the 1st to 5th, yeah, it's like 1 week, I think, to respond to your question. 5 days. The first course is 5 days. The second one is also 5 days. 10 days in total, yes. But they are separate things, so you can think about joining both of them. They will not overlap at all, but it will be soon clearer. So let me move on. Okay. So the data science, hot topic. Actually, to build a successful data science solution, you have to work with those 4 pillars: people, so roles; processes, okay? So the methodologies, proved methodologies, how to implement those solutions. Quite important thing. So new technologies is one part, but proven methodologies is the second one, and we have to combine them together to achieve a success. We will also need some tools, so an architecture, how to design data science solution in Azure, okay? Huge topic, so we need 10 days to work through all those requirements and all those tasks. And finally, easy to use environment for data scientists and data engineers as well. So during those 2 trainings, we will focus on processes, architecture, and environments, but to help you decide which of those 2 courses is better for you right now to take, yeah? Probably it will be good to also at least have a brief general understanding of those roles. So that's what I'm going to talk about shortly. But first, the general agenda, the overview for the first G23 training, okay? That's the data science path and data science certification. To achieve this, you have to know how to work with machine learning service, Azure Machine Learning Service. Maybe some of you, if you have some previous experience with Azure, maybe you noticed this, maybe you have been working with the Azure Machine Learning Studio. This one is deprecated and it was replaced by Azure Machine Learning Service. Completely new. Well, I've been working with it for more than a year, but still relatively new service. And this service will help you to go through the whole data science process. So we will start with data ingestion, okay, into this workspace. Workspace is shared. which means that we have to learn how to work together in a team on those data science projects as well, using different approaches. So there is a no-code approach, like a designer. So you can do AutoML, automated machine learning experiments just by a few clicks, and you will get very good results. For example, if you are in a hurry to win a Kaggle competition, that's the best approach for you right now. You will be on the top of the ladder for sure, okay? Then there is a low-code designer. If you want to spend more time and play with the data and adjust the flow, the machine learning flow to your own needs, you can do this. But most of the time, at least during this G23 course, we will spend working with Python notebooks, okay? Using machine learning notebooks. So there are brand new, very nice tool, machine learning notebook. You will learn how to use them efficiently, also in a team work, okay? So that's the starting point. As you can see, this machine learning service allows you to do the data science experiments to train machine learning models using different approaches. To get the title, to pass the exam, it will be good to focus on Python notebooks. Python notebooks is one part of the solution. We also need some compute power to be able to launch this code, yeah, or to train our models. So this compute context is another topic we are going to deal with during this G23 training, how to use powerful compute clusters provided to you automatically in Azure. Then, when the workspace is set up, we can move on to the second big topic and create experiments to train our models. Okay, so that's the main point. I'm assuming, so there is very little about data preparation. Data preparation is important part of machine learning process by itself, and we will work with the data quality assessment, but for sure we will spend some time talking about best practices, how to prepare your variables, but these tasks can be automated, and my point is to show you how to do machine learning experiments, data science experiments efficiently, okay? So as much automation as possible. During the single experiment, we are going to build many models, so then it's time to optimize them, to select the best one, and to put the selected best one model into production. Okay, so that's two important parts of this process. And you can expect a lot of questions on this DP 100 exam regarding those topics. So it will be good to spend some time to discuss them in greater detail. Finally, you will learn how to use those models in two scenarios. The first, real-time prediction queries. So we are going to publish those models. And use them and for single predictions queries, and then we are going to use batch scoring as well. So if there is a need to scale out, yeah, those predictions queries to run them across a chunk of data, it also will be possible. So that's the first part. The second, but still try to remember that there are two trainings I'm talking about during my single introductory session, G28, and this is all about Azure Data Services, okay? So first, it will be good to have a general overview of all available data services on Azure. There is a lot of them. We will focus on the most commonly used ones to be able to work with any type of data, relational and semi-structured data as well, in the both ways, so in batch and in near real-time prediction scenarios. That will be the first part, and this part is actually needed to pass the exam. Then, however, we are going to have a look at some of those services from practical point of view, okay? So we'll work with relational services like Azure SQL DB and Synapse Analytics right now, and non-relational services like Cosmos DB. Finally, we will spend some time talking about this fast path, yeah, in our modern data warehousing architecture, and we will work with stream analytics as well. At the top of this, I will show you how to implement AI solutions using cognitive services. So as you can see, the first training was focused on a single service, Azure Machine Learning Service. The second, G28, is an overview of all those additional services needed to build the data science solution in Azure. Okay, so now going back to those roles. Now, there are more than one of them. That's why those two courses were combined, actually. Let's focus on two of them, data scientist and data engineer. Data scientist is a person responsible to train machine learning models, quite often from scratch, yeah? So no pre-trained deep machine learning models, no cognitive services being used. It's our task to solve business problems using our own homemade models. Data scientists work on Azure Machine Learning Services. Data engineer, on the other hand, is a person who is responsible to manage whole data path. So for data ingestion, how to upload data to the system, to Azure in our case, how to store the data efficiently and how to process them efficiently. Okay, so there is a lot of things for data, for a lot of tasks to be done by data engineer. It's not just a DBA, that's the point. And we are not focusing on data analyst role. Data analyst is being handled by an additional course available to you in this project. Okay. So G23, the first one of scheduled courses, is all about Azure Data Scientist certification. And you know that this person should be able to work with Azure Machine Learning Service. To work with this Azure Machine Learning Service efficiently, Python skills are required. So it will be good if you have some experience in Python programming. So it's not just a service, but also a Python SDK available. It's an open SDK, so you can even start working with this SDK without Azure account, of course, in somehow limited scope, but it's perfectly valid approach. There is also a R SDK, quite new. It's just a wrapper around those Python libraries, to be honest. But as we are going to prepare you to successfully take the exam, we are working with Python almost only, or depends on your needs, but I strongly suggest to focus on Python. During the exam, you will be asking about Python code, how to work with this service, okay? So data scientist. The second one is aim to be a data engineer. And data engineer works with different services, different technologies in Azure, okay? Still, we have just 5 days, so we will spend some time working with selected Azure services during this course, okay? So that means that it will be good if you have experience at least in one of those areas, like SQL or Python or C#. If you do not have, don't worry, you still will be able to take and successfully pass the exam, and hopefully you will learn the Python or SQL on your way to become an Azure data engineer. What should you know to pass those 2 exams successfully, actually? That's the main point of my introductory presentation. So for G23, the point is to understand the data science lifecycle. So this data science lifecycle is how to apply a methodology to use those new technologies available efficiently, okay? And we will start with business understanding. It will be shortly brief to give you a complete vision. If you do not understand the problem you are going to solve, just focusing on data, you quite often will achieve, technically speaking, correct results, but useless results as well. And then we are moving to data acquisition and understanding. That's more technical part, okay? So now we are going to use those tools and not just interview stakeholders, which means that you should be able to work with different data sources. And this slide actually is a description of a course agenda, okay? So instead of using bullet points, I decided to use this graph, but those things mentioned on this graph are actually topics or modules that we are going to work with. So working with data sources, different kind of data sources, like tabular data or just files, quite often scenario, aren't they? Then we have to build a data pipeline. So the point is to standardize and automate tasks in this needed for implement this data science lifecycle. So the term of pipeline is heavily used across and have different meanings in machine learning world, but now we are talking about data pipeline. How to assess data quality, how to clean the data, and how to enhance data by providing additional important from machine learning algorithm perspective variables. The third module is to prepare your environment. Environment that will help you to work with any kind of data on scale in small and large teams. So it's Azure Machine Learning Studio here. Hopefully you will find this environment very friendly and efficient. So The third module is all about environment, how to prepare it, how to work with it. And finally, how to finish this pipeline with enhanced data ready to be used as a training data for our model. So now let's move to the left part of this slide, and we have four modules described here. It's feature engineering, so data enhancement, model training, the fun part of this data science life cycle. A lot of state-of-the-art algorithms, machine learning algorithms are available, but the point is how to choose the best one in for the specific case, and how to optimize machine learning model architecture. So hyperparameters tuning. Now, if you think about this, the model training can also be automated. Yeah, so we can build an AutoML pipeline in addition to data pipeline. How to do this and how to assess the quality of those AutoML pipelines. So not only just a model, but also the data preparation phase altogether is all about the module called model evaluation. And finally, the last modules of this G23 training is to help you deploy or operationalize your solutions, your model. We will use the Azure services, but it's also possible to deploy those models on-prem or in IoT scenario. So I will mention this briefly during our course. The deployment is actually a quite important part, and more technically focused than modeling and working with data. So we will work closely with those data engineer skills. As you can see, the data scientists and data engineers should work together to successfully deploy data science solutions. We will talk about storing those models as container images. So a model, a scoring script, an environment, all put together into an image, how to deploy this image to web service, and how to monitor the usage or performance of those deployed models at the last three modules of G23 training. Okay? Good. So now let's move back to G28, the second of those two trainings. Data engineer path we are talking about right now. And as I introduce the concept, as I mentioned briefly, now we have to work with different kind of Azure resources, and we will start with the easiest to be used, the fundamental data service, I mean storage account. So how to provision, how to use them, how to secure storage accounts in Azure, the first module. Then there is some differences between a standard storage account and data lake store right now in Azure. So the second part of G28 training will be about data lake store. Now we are talking about this big data scenario, but not only. Quite often, semi-structured or unstructured data is being stored in data lake stores. So we will talk about different approaches and architectures here. Now, when we have data on Azure, we can start working with them. And Azure Databricks can be used for different things like ETL tasks or analytics. Yeah. So it's good to have a general understanding of Databricks. Databricks is a Spark cluster available as a service on Azure. So if you an experience working with Spark. That will help you a lot during the third module. But for relational operational data, Databricks may be not the best one. So now we are talking about Azure Cosmos DB, NoSQL database available on Azure. So it's highly scalable database engine, NoSQL database engine with different APIs available to work with the data. That will be the fourth module of this G28 training. Then going back to relational world, Azure SQL database. So SQL database available as a service, how to provision, how to work, with it, how to secure the environment, how to use the service efficiently. All those things will be tackled in the fifth module of G28 course. If you have relational data and your goal is not to process the data row by row, but more you are focusing on analytics, Azure Synapse Analytics is the right service to do so. So we will introduce Azure Synapse Analytics and the brand new Synapse Analytics workspace. So right now, Microsoft is putting a lot of pressure, so that's on this Azure Synapse service or resource, and it's being improved rapidly. Azure workspaces, Synapse Analytics workspaces are great to handle or to analyze different kind of data, not only relational, but also semi-structured, stored in files. You will see how to work with the service in the sixth module of the G28 course. If your goal is to provide near real-time analytics, Azure Stream Analytics is exactly for that. So we will also have to learn how to work with Azure Stream Analytics. As you can maybe notice, most of those services are platform as a service services. That's also Azure Stream Analytics is also one of this kind of offer. So there is no provisioning in terms of creating virtual machines and managing those virtual machines. We will focus on our tasks, on the logic. And Azure Stream Analytics is great for batch analytics. If you want to average the stream of data flowing from different sources, and then, I don't know, detect anomalies. That's the perfect scenario. And the last service we are going to work with during this course is Azure Data Factory. So Azure Data, I will answer your question, Elizabeth, shortly. So Azure Data Factory is all about ETL or ELT processes and how to implement them efficiently in Azure. So how to move data from one source to another and how to transform data on the fly. Also, how to orchestrate the whole process. Okay, so those services will be discussed during the training. Okay, and now difference between deep learning and classical machine learning. So the difference from the operational point of view is that for machine learning, we are going to answer a question based on raw data. So based on input variables, we will predict the value of the output variable. Classification models will be used if the output variable is categorical, and regression models are to predict a numerical value. Deep learning, on the other side, are implemented, used deep neural nets So neural nets with many layers. And the goal of those intermediate hidden layers is to extract automatically, based on learned pattern from the data, useful features. It's used mostly for cognitive analytics, like text analytics or video analytics. Let me answer using the picture example. In deep learning, deep neural model will extract some simple features from pixels, like lines or simple shapes. And then, based on those shapes, lines, will learn more complex features, like eyes, or more complex shapes. And only at the very end, there will be a classification saying, yeah, there is actually a cat visible on this picture. So all those intermediate useful features will be learned by a deep model automatically from data. That's not the case for usual, as you call it, machine learning techniques like classification or regression algorithms. What's the difference between statistical modeling and machine learning? That's a very good question. Actually, probably the most accurate answer is the scale of the data. So we are still using statistical methods like regression, linear or logistic regression are quite powerful machine learning algorithms, and they are being used. So what's the difference between machine learning regression and statistical regression? It's the same algorithm, actually. So from practical point of view, the difference lies in the scale of this analysis. For statistical modeling, quite often we are working with a very limited number of rows. So examples, training examples. In machine learning, we automate some tasks. That's the one thing. And then we are using a platform or technologies capable to handle millions of rows. But actually, that's the whole difference. Okay. Let me move to the two more slides, and then we'll sum up this introductory presentation. So hopefully we will meet during those trainings. Also, one of those trainings, it's what you decide is the best for you right now. The outcome should be like that. You, as a data scientist or a data engineer, will be able to take a part of this kind of projects. So that's an architecture or a flow of a typical data science project built using Azure technologies. And so we'll start with the source data coming from different sources, mostly application, operational databases, but not only. We have to analyze the data to understand. We have to understand this data. That's the task for business analysts to give us the business context, for our project. Then we have to ingest and store this data somewhere. So that's a data engineer task. Data engineer is going to work with services like Azure Blob Storage or data lake storage, or maybe data warehouse. Now Synapse Analytics. To store this data efficiently. Then we will move to modeling part. And now Azure Machine Learning Service is our workspace. So here, data scientist is working together with data engineer to train those models and publish them, the best trained model, and operationalize it, which means constant monitoring of how the model performs. Data drift is something that will be mentioned during this course, how to detect why the quality of effectiveness of deployed model is getting worse with time. Those models will be published, use Azure Container Registry, so the central repository for our models, and available to end users via Azure Container instances or Kubernetes services. As you can see, most of those services were mentioned during the data engineer course. All of them will be used using the data science course because those services, those resources are a part of machine learning service actually. And now we are ready to consume our models or results. Power BI probably right now is quite a good choice to enable end user access to predictions. But the Power BI part is out of scope of our two trainings. There is no data science or data engineer roles assigned to this task. Yeah. So you should be familiar, you should be able to build this kind of pipeline to take part of this in this kind of projects by yourself. There is a slight different architecture also available that we will discuss when the predictions are not being consumed directly in Power BI, but will be stored somewhere, and on the Power BI will connect to those data stores containing enhanced data. Yeah? So that's the second scenario. And as I have just like 2 minutes, let me move to the very last slide of my presentation. Why it's good to work in this field right now. From my perspective, the first thing is that the market is moving target right now, and many jobs will disappear soon. So in the next 10 years or 20 top, it will be good choice to secure your future and start working in an area that is proved to provide interesting jobs, not only right now, but also in the next 10 or 20 years. And if you ask data scientists right now if they are happy with their job, majority of them will say yes. Many, that's quite common among different countries. Also, both of those positions are well paid, as you can see right now. So it's definitely a plus. Finally, it's relatively easy to find a job as a data scientist or a data engineer. I checked yesterday on LinkedIn, there were more than 57,000 open job positions for data scientists. And the interesting part is that the number is quite constant across the time. When I checked the same, like a month ago, it was 56,000 something. So a lot of available job position worldwide to start working as a data scientist. Okay, so that's it. Hopefully now you know better what to expect from this G23, G28 courses, what we are going to discuss, and hope to see you on those courses. Thank you very much.